wish to create a perfect human being, selecting the best organs from different corpses. Nosferatu, the medieval vampire in the remote regions of Transylvania.
5 innocent people killed, not a sign of a human.
It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. In all cases, the killers are eating the flesh of the people they murder. Victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers. A fool can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull. A fool can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Answers to the Unknown. As you know, I'm your host, John. So, last week we had talked about the Wendigo, which was a pretty intense creature. We still don't really know too much about it other than what we've learned through folklore over the years. Another creature that I'm going to get into tonight is going to be the ShapeShifter. Many of you, I'm pretty sure, have heard of him. If you have any supernatural fans out there, this guy has definitely been talked about in quite a few episodes, but it's pretty much somebody who can shapeshift, change different appearances and stuff like that. Could these be looped in with doppelgangers, werewolves, dogman? They're all possibilities. When I give you guys a little bit of information on what the shapeshifter is, we'll let your brains decide on what you think, but I think they go hand in hand. So sit back, relax, and hope you guys enjoy this week's episode of Answers to the Unknown. So let's see what the book's got to say on this topic. Hope everybody stayed cool today. It was extremely hot. Alright. So the shapeshifter. What is a shapeshifter? So, a shapeshifter is any creature with the ability to undergo a drastic change of appearance. Is basically a shapeshifter. Anybody who can do that, they are going to be labeled as a shapeshifter, a shifter for short. Although they sometimes take monstrous forms, not all the time will they be looking human, like a human. I believe their true form is actually a very grotesque form, which is why they shapeshift into different people. They are also known to be pretty evil. Few different legends and tales, they have them as being not that bad. Sometimes they're nice, they're deemed as luck, but for the most part, shapeshifters are they're bad juju. They're something you definitely don't really want to ever come across and have to deal with. They can be bloodthirsty, mischievous, they can be helpful, and anything in between, but it's kind of like a roll of the dice when you come across them. And I want to say, you're looking at a good 95% of the time, it's going to be something evil. It's not going to be anything. It's going to be nice and helpful. Some of the characteristics of a shapeshifter. Their physical description. Naturally, it's hard to pin down exactly what a shapeshifter's appearance looks like because they're so frequently changing shape. It's hard to really pinpoint what one would look like normal outside of it taking somebody else's shape. As individuals, their shape is constantly changing, like I just said, and as a group spread across dozens of cultures, they have a wider variety of shapes than anybody could really track, so their stories have ranged all over, and some have them from being humans to being like animals, it could be dog, bird, cat, whatever, snake. Beauty is perhaps the biggest trend in their appearance. So in a lot of tales, when they're switching over to humans, these characters can be frequently appeared as radiant maidens or strong young handsome men. Whatever is going to lure whoever they're trying to lure. So if you're a young girl, then hey, it might take the shape of a nice strapping physical looking, young man. And then if you're a guy, hey, maybe it's a beautiful, beautiful girl. We have no idea. Shapeshifters are, they can change between a bunch of different things. Other popular forms are wolf-like animals or serpents. Some of their special abilities, the shapeshifters are diverse in their abilities as they can pretty much change their appearance. That's their biggest thing, so trying to find somebody, you could be hot on their trail and all of a sudden, it changed, and then now, it's a totally different looking person now, and it's the same person you're talking to before, but because they shapeshifted, now it's different, even shapeshifting, the trait which unifies them, is sometimes more of a curse than an actual magical ability. Certain tales have said that they've been cursed to take on this form, this shape. Sometimes they've been cursed to do it and they can never change back out of it. Sometimes they're just cursed with the ability to change in and out of different shapes. In ancient mythology, shapeshifting is just one of the endless magical abilities used by godlike characters. So usually it was the gods that had the ability to shapeshift, the gods that had the ability to get, the new forms and do what they had to do. In the trickster folklore, like Loki and all that, or any other tricksters that kind of just like to play pranks on us humans, shapeshifting is the character's only magical ability. So that's the only thing it really has going for itself, is the fact that it will trick us by changing its shape constantly. But they combine so much cunning, with their shapeshifting abilities, that they're still such a powerful force, so even though they have all this stuff going on, they're still extremely strong, and they still manage to freaking trick us and fool us in any type of way possible. In romantic fairy tales, shapeshifting is a burden upon powerless creatures. So you're a weak individual, you get hit with shapeshifting, it's a burden on you now. You can't live a normal life because you're constantly changing shape, or you are stuck in this one shape you can't seem to get out of. So that's a huge burden, especially back in days where you have no idea what to do. So yeah, usually that happened is because they were tricked by, or cursed by a more powerful entity. So we're going to talk now about shape-shifting across all the different cultures and stuff like that. So Eastern folklore, that's Japanese, Chinese, Korean, all those legends are all crisscrossed with the paw prints of the shapeshifters that they have that transform from foxes into beautiful women. That right there is one of the main ones that I was talking about earlier, how they try to trick whatever sex you are by turning into something that is kind of irresistible to us. So for men, it's a beautiful woman. That's what they'll change into. These characters are usually evil, using their beauty to seduce and kill men. But occasionally, one of those beauties will actually be nice, and they'll actually turn out to be like a blessing, so to say, and an innocent romantic, versus evil, just trying to kill you type like all the rest of them. Sometimes shapeshifters take on other forms, such as snakes, cats, dogs, raccoons, whatever animal they seem fit to get the job done, so to say, or to get close to whoever they have to. So, Indian and Tartar folklore favor shapeshifters who change from snakes to humans. Again, these characters are almost always up to no good, so just always remember that when it comes to dealing with shapeshifters. It's usually not a good thing. If you're seeing it, it's probably going to try to find a way to turn into you, and that's either going to be to kill you or to tie you up somewhere, and it turns into you and then just goes wreaking utter havoc. So that now that people think it's you, even though it wasn't you, it could commit murder, and the next thing you know, you're on the line committed for murder because it looked like you. It was you technically, but it wasn't you. Good luck trying to get the police to believe that it was a shapeshifter. unless you had some really solid proof. It's not happening. You're going bye-bye. So Greek and Roman mythology, they had it too. So seemingly all Greek and Roman gods were shapeshifters, all of them. Although some of them enjoyed changing from shape to shape, others didn't. Proteus, which was a sea god, he became famous for his ability to flicker from one form to another. They did that usually when any type of enemy was pursuing him. He would just poof around and switch into whatever different shape and form he wanted to. Most likely it was a water animal or creature. Zeus, which is the leader of the gods, he used his talent for shape-shifting for kind of not the best purposes. So according to Greeks, Zeus is kind of a player. Like, he definitely had a bunch of different ladies, different wives, hence all the different gods that he created, Hercules and all that stuff. So he was constantly changing shape kind of to avoid other women, the other ladies that he was kind of messing around with. He'd change shape. So maybe he looked this way for one, but then we'd go see the other one, he'd switch shapes and look like somebody else for that one. Kind of clever if you think about it, but also it's going to get you in some trouble, man. So not only did Zeus do it for that, but all the gods that, were around back then, they were also able to transform other people into animals. So not only were they changing themselves, but say, I don't know, you did something to piss off one of the gods, it could easily curse you by turning you into something, or giving you that, that whole curse of being stuck changing between different shapes all the time. And maybe you couldn't control it, maybe it happened during only the nighttime, who knows. But either way, I'm sure it would have had an effect on whoever was dealing with it. So one of the other ones, let's see here. Often this is a sort of transformation they use as punishment. The goddess Athena transformed a mortal, and we all know Athena, she was a god of love and war there. So she transformed a mortal Arachne into a spider. Arachne, that's what it was. Into a spider, because she had challenged Athena's skill at weaving. That is where the term arachnophobia comes from. So by turning her into that, that's where that whole arachnid with the spiders, that's where that name originated from. Zeus also transformed another mortal, Lycaon, into a wolf, because he tried to trick Zeus into eating human flesh one time. So, right there, Lycaon, Lycanthrope, werewolf. That's where that came in. Still, in other cases, the gods pretty much used their powers to protect, mankind, human beings. Every so often they would, if maybe they found a human who was being disrespectful, maybe not living up to what they thought, then yeah, they'd throw punishment. They'd try to do, they'd shapeshift them into some type of hideous creature or thing or flower or whatever the case may be, maybe a small insect. All depends. But like I said, for the most part, they use the powers to protect and to keep us safe. So Zeus had turned Lo, who was a beautiful nymph, into a heifer. He did that to hide her from his jealous wife. Hera and Apollo mourned the loss of his lover. Now this one, once again, same with the Indian names, these Greek names get really crazy to pronounce, so bear with me. Hyacinth. I'm just going to say that's what it is. But by turning him into a gorgeous flower. Alright, so most of these mortals did not become true shapeshifters. To become a true shapeshifter, you have to be able to transform from one shape into another. So if you can only just do one shape, so if I turn you into, say a beetle, you can't turn back to a human, you're not a shapeshifter. Shapeshifters can change whenever they want to whatever they want, and that's the true definition of a shapeshifter. It says right in its name. So let's see here. There we are. So, once again, if you were changed by the gods into something different, whether it be bug, animal, plant, they were the only ones who could change you back. Either you learned a lesson and they change you back, or they never change you back, or in certain cases it would be kind of like, the prince turned to a frog type thing, or like Sleeping Beauty. Maybe the curse could have been broken, and then that's how you can get back to your normal self. Until any of those things happen, though, you're pretty much stuck where you're at. So, don't piss off the gods. So, we're going to jump into Norse mythology now. And the Vikings and all that, they just like every other culture, they had their own version of these things. So like the Greeks, the Norse people attributed the powers of shapeshifting to their gods as well. Loki, we all know about him. He was a god of chaos and mischief. He was particularly fond of shapeshifting. And he could pretty much take on any form he wanted, whenever he wanted. He even actually mothered a few monsters while he was in woman form. So he actually managed to birth some type of little half and halves, whatever they'd be considered, whether it be half god, half human, or whatever. But he pretty much did that when he was in woman form. Freyja, which is a goddess of love and fertility, had a cloak, and that cloak was made of feathers. She was able to turn into a hawk whenever she wanted. That was her big powers. Hawk, falcon, pretty much one of those big symboled birds. Likewise, Odin was also fond of transformation, and his big shape-shifting thing was an eagle. So stories have it that he would transform into an eagle, and that was kind of like his symbol. Sometimes mortal Norse people were actually inspired to attempt shape-shifting, as, kind of like their little practices, so to say. Shamans believed that by entering a ritual state, that they could send their spirit out of their body, and it would turn to the shape of an animal to roam the world. So, say like maybe for me, I love wolves. That's my whole thing. Obviously, I would try to shapeshift into a wolf and just try to be a wolf dude, running around out there being a wolf. Maybe you find something out. I don't know. But that's kind of what they thought they could do. Their warriors, who were known as berserkers, same thing. They thought that by wearing the hide of an animal, so whether it be bear, wolf, lion, tiger, that they would now gain their powers, that they would gain the power of being that animal. So I'm in battle, maybe I throw on the hide of a bear. Now it's just, I feel that I have that bear power in me, that I could just take on whoever I wanted and pretty much rip them to shreds. Same thing with the wolf, whatever animal you're contributing yourself to, while this is going on, that's pretty much what you're going to turn into. Allegedly, as the stories go. So, a lot of other things, they would do like mind-altering drugs, certain things that make you hallucinate, so there's like probably their version of like a DMT, which is something your brain actually naturally produces, so they'd find a way to probably enhancify that, as well as doing things like, I know the Indians would do like peyote, which would make them trip balls and see a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but that was also their way of their spirit guide and their spirit journey, so to say. It's supposed to open that field up. Now, to me, I have a hard time believing that if you're taking a hallucinogen, that really anything you're seeing is credible. I mean, I've had people tell me all the time, like, oh man, you ever go out there and try DMT, man, like, people have had conversations with God, and I'm like, I can't sit there and take a hallucinative drug and literally expect that I can use that as some type of credible evidence. There's no way, that wouldn't fly anywhere, even in a normal courtroom, the minute you find out someone was looped out on something, forget about it. It's just all credibility is out the window. So, for me, I have a hard time with that. I do believe and know there's other ways to gain that same outlook and that same outcome just by certain things you can do, meditating and getting your mind into a certain mindset. You don't need to take those crazy hallucinative drugs. I don't even ever condone anybody doing that. It's a dangerous thing. You could probably see things, and it could snowball into something horrible. So just stay away from that stuff, guys. There's plenty of other things to do out there to reach that plane that's a lot safer. So go that route, please. So now we're going to jump into a little bit of Celtic folklore. So for them, witches, bards, and sorcerers, they were all responsible for shape-shifting. They were the ones who were the main ones who could do those things. A sorcerer could curse you, a witch could curse you, stuff like that. So that's kind of where their whole thing comes into play. Using their gift with magic, these characters could take on almost any form they wanted, and they frequently place curses on heroes and princesses. So their whole thing right there. They're bad. You're somebody who's, trying to save the day, once again, a hero or a princess, a fair maiden, queen, king, they would pretty much try to put a curse on you. Maybe they'd shapeshift themselves into being like, maybe trick you into bringing them into the castle as being like the castle pet. It could be a dog, but it's their way of just getting in closer to maybe murder you, take you out. You have no idea. Like I said in the beginning, shapeshifting and shapeshifters, usually have a very evil agenda. Their agenda is not to help you out. Their agenda is not to be your friend. It's just like doppelgangers. Like their stories and their lines and where they come from are not meant to be nice. They're not meant to be, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my doppelganger. Hey, I'm going to go hang out with the shapeshifter down the road. No, you don't ever want to do that. You don't want them in your life. Try to keep them out. Okay? So they pretty much, trap them in an ugly form, until the curse was broken. So that, like I said, it'd be either turn you into something gross, slug, whatever it is, frog, you name it, they're going to turn you into it. And it's not going to be something pretty, it's not going to be something nice, it's not going to be something awesome, like, oh, hey, cool, man, I just got turned into, this badass bird or badass animal. No, it's usually not. It's usually something small, something weak, like it's definitely a punishment. In ancient Scotland, 2 special breeds of shapeshifters haunted the waters and the skies. So this, once again, these names, guys, you're gonna deal with me. Selkies, I'm guessing that's the name of them. Selkies. I have no idea how to pronounce that. If anybody does, let me know. But this is a type of seal that could turn into a human. It played in the ocean, while Kelpies, which was a water spirit that could turn into a horse or a woman, dwelled in the lakes and the rivers. Both of these creatures attempted to lure humans into the water, where they frequently drowned. So that right there also could be specified in like the sirens or the mermaids. Same thing. So human-like, hang out in the water, but they're not really humanish. Like the sirens would appear as beautiful women until you got close, and then their true form would show, and it's grotesque and horrible. By that time, you're already right there, and they just grab you and pull you into the water and drown you, just drag you right to the bottom. So, same thing. Could sirens be mixed in with shapeshifters? 100%. Just like Dogman, all that stuff. Anything that can shapeshift, werewolves, all that could potentially be considered a shapeshifter. We may call them that because we've only seen them in that form, but in reality, like I said, they're a shapeshifter. They may not be just a werewolf. There could be totally more to it than what we know. So that that's just up for discussion. It all depends. So that was that. That's interesting stuff right there, guys. You just never know what the hell's out there. We try to know. We try to do the best we can and try to figure it out. But really, in the end, we have no idea. But if you really look at the similarities of a lot of things, you can it helps pinpoint things into certain categories, so where you would have a werewolf category, a vampire category, whatever categories you want to do. If you really think of other creatures that are out there and what they do, you might even be able to lump a lot of those together in that category. We won't know for certain if there's any type of bloodline with them. There very well could be, there very well may not be. We have no idea, It's all part of the game of life. The Navajo Indians, in the Native American folklore, they were surrounded by tribes, and that had believed in skinwalkers. So same thing, It's the same type of being as a shapeshifter. A group of witches who are able to change into coyotes. That's what they believed the skinwalkers were. Wolf, fox, owl, or crow. While the skinwalkers certainly aren't friendly to humans, they aren't particularly dangerous either. They enjoy scaring people, but they've never actually caused any physical harm. So in modern fiction, shapeshifters have always had a hold, on the human imagination. To this day, they still continue to pop up in pretty much all of our stuff. Movies, a lot of the horror movies, the creature features, stuff like that. So they're still talked about. They're still definitely out there in the imagination. A good clip, which I'm about to play that now, is actually from the show Supernatural. And this is when the main character, Dean Winchester, was actually a shapeshifter. He was a shapeshifter, had taken over his form. And the clip I'm going to show you guys in a minute is just the transformation, how they show the transformation to go, and it's pretty brutal. It's pretty nuts, but that's pretty much how it goes. So I'm gonna play that for you guys right now. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that little clip. It's definitely interesting, man. And these creatures, if they truly are out there and they are real, they're scary because it could be anyone, anywhere, at any time. And who knows if who we're actually chasing is actually who we're supposed to be chasing. So, we'll give that some thought for you guys tonight. And hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Answers to the Unknown. I'm your host, John. Until next week.